But Brandy, I asked this question off the top. Will Lachlan Galvin ever play NRL for West Tigers again?
Oh, that's almost unanswerable, Matt. I really don't know, and that depends on, and I would be fascinated as to the conversations that have been going on at the West Tigers, well, those that happened yesterday. Of course, the news broke about 11 o'clock on Monday that Lachlan Galvin had informed the club that he would no longer be there. The story grew legs yesterday when there was rumours around that Lachlan Galvin would not be picked in the team to play Parramatta on Easter Monday, which just blew my mind. But I can understand it. And now we learn that Jerome Luai and the leadership group, Appy Coruscant, fronted Benji Marshall to say they didn't want him in the team. So the question, will he play for the Tigers again in NRL? I guess it's the conversations that the leadership group and Lachlan Galvin and the coach Benji Marshall will have over the coming days, weeks. But I don't know, Matty. I would say, and I jumped in the car after work yesterday and drove out to Penrith and spent the day out there, and which leads us to one of our guests today, because we've been talking trade windows. So we'll have Matt Cameron on, the CEO of Panthers, to talk about trade windows and whether they're good for the game or what. But I was sitting there thinking, now if someone informed the Panthers, and we had a number of players that signed 12 months out before and then finished the year and moved on. If someone 18 months or almost 2 years out said, I'm not signing with you blokes, I'm going elsewhere because I need to further my development and I don't think the current coach can do that, out. No one player is bigger than the club. I don't know how. I think it's untenable, which means he mightn't play first grade for them again, because I don't know how the rest of the team cope with someone that said, I don't rate the coach. He's not going to help me. And obviously I don't rate you blokes because you can't do it for me either. I'm moving on. See, it's a little bit different. And I heard a couple of calls from Charlie's people, Charlie's
on tradies
on tradies this morning, and said, well, the blokes that are talking, Appy Coruscant, Jerome Luai, they better be careful because they did the same thing. Well, they did. That kind of. They signed a contract 12 months before they had to leave Penrith, but they didn't.
But they were being squeezed out rather than going for than being offered the richest deal in West Tigers history for a local junior. It wasn't the richest deal in Penrith history for any of the departing players. They were being forced to take better offers elsewhere.
Well, they became marquee players at other clubs, and on marquee money.
And they weren't potting the club on the way out either. So there's two big differences, in my opinion.
There is two. So that's a good question. Will he play for Will he play for the Tigers in the NRL again? I guess that depends on the senior playing group and whether they can come, and whether it was Lachlan Galvin that actually said that. I don't believe it was. That's a manager talking. That's Isaac Moses writing the script. Further my development, the 19-year-old boy.
We'll get to those grabs. We'll get to those quotes in a moment. But you touched on the leadership group fronting Benji Marshall, saying we don't think Lockie can be in the team this week, given what's happened, given what's been said. Further to that, yesterday morning, we were saying that Fanua Bolat had liked a post that criticised Lachlan Galvin. So you've got a teammate of Lockie's liking someone who's criticising his teammate. It grew legs yesterday when Jerome Luai on social media delivered a team-first post that was clearly a shot at Lockie as well, backed up by Sonia Taruva, who had a shot of Lockie's cubicle in the change room. So very rarely, blow-ups between players are regular, but highly irregular are public exchanges like this. So not only
it's kept behind closed doors.
Yes.
When players disagree or players have a shot at each other, it isn't. That's right, on social media for everyone to read or look at.
Matty Johns was strong yesterday on the run home with Joel and Fletch, saying that he doesn't think Lockie should be dropped. For the sake of the team, for the sake of Benji's coaching future, he argued that the Tigers are a better team with Lockie in that outfit. Find a way to make it work. Who cares that he's moving on? Do what's best for Benji's coaching future and the team's finals hopes this year. On the other side of the coin, you've got all that we've just spoken about. And if they send him back to West Magpies for a week, fortnight, a month, and then bring him back, does that not look a little bit petty? Does it not look like
you're punishing him for doing what he's... Look, I guess in the big scheme of things too, Matty, this is what the game allows for players to do. And we spoke about... We're going to talk about trade windows. And Clint Newton came out yesterday and said, well, trade windows might be good. It does reduce, what players can do, when they can sign and when they can be announced. But it doesn't stop a situation like this with a player putting his hand up and saying, I'm leaving at the end of my contract. But would it, if you stopped announcements being made? Or would it have any... we'll get to the bottom of it with Matt Cameron, or we'll try to.
Yeah. So I'm just thinking about whether Lockie returns or not to NRL. And I'm thinking, well, they've covered it this week. They've demoted him. In 5 weeks after a broken hand, Latu Fainu is going to be back available for selection. And it's not as if he's being dropped for an indiscretion, turning up to training late, or just getting a bit sloppy in some areas. He's been dropped because the leadership group and other players don't want to play with him. I don't see how you can then flip and say, well, come back in a fortnight or a month or whenever it is. He's made his stance. The club's made its stance. I don't know what brings them back on the same page to the point where he can be back in the team.
Yeah, I don't know either. And I don't know what sort of conversation they had yesterday, which they surely do the senior players actually go in and does Lockie come to training and they all sit down and go, and Lockie goes, look, that wasn't me. There's other reasons why I'm leaving. I don't know how it's sorted out, Matty. I don't know. I'd like to think it could be. But as I said, if that happened at Penrith, I'm sure, mate, I wouldn't get the say in it. But I'd be going, well, he's got to go. There isn't a player that's bigger than the club. And if you're taking the club down by bagging the coach and saying he's not going to do it for me, well, or do you be bigger than that and go, well, you know what, Benji, you can criticise me, but I'm just going to do what's best for the team. Lockie, come back in. You're a player that's going to help us win footy games, and just bite the bullet and get on with it. They're the two things.
Lockie's public comments, the first of them. Here are some quotes. The biggest reason why I made this call now is so the West Tigers have enough time to plan their roster without me in the future. That's the absolute truth of it. I thought it would be best for everyone to make the call now rather than drag it out. Any suggestion I have already done a deal with another club in 2027 is simply not true. My reaction to the 18 months notice, if that is the right thing to do, Lockie and Lockie's management, why doesn't every team have that happen to them? Why doesn't every player give 18 months notice? You don't need to give 18 months notice, do you? The timing around that, you didn't need to give West Tigers...
It's April. Yeah, you don't...
Enough time?
I don't think so. That doesn't... It doesn't ring true.
No. Okay. Then the second one that has an even bigger asterisk beside it. I just feel that as I move into an important period of my development as a half, that I continue to build my game at a different club. Again, I know this might be hard for some people to understand, but I made this decision in the best interests of my career. I have not met one person, not one, who thinks this is in the best interests of Lockie's career, as opposed to staying and learning under one of the game's great halves in Benji Marshall, beside a multiple premiership winner in Jerome Luai, who has spent time with the game's best half currently, Nathan Cleary. Is he going to get any better assistance in his career development than he would have got over the next few years at West Tigers, Brandy?
Well, only if he knows where he's going. Like, does he know where he's going? He's saying not. But if you're making assumptions like that, what is his experience with coaches? What, he's SG ball coach last year, or he's schoolboy coach last year, or the year before? What experience does he have in coaching or play or being coached to say this bloke can't take me any further?
Harold Matthews, coach at Parramatta, Australian Schoolboys coach 2023, Benji Marshall 2024 as he made his NRL debut, and this year that's the coaching experience in in recent times, unless he knows where he's going next, but he says he doesn't. So, Lachlan Galvin, jump on the text line, 0457 736 736, the Great Southern Bank Open line, 1300 01 1170. We encourage you to have your say, but Brandy, it's not all going to be Lachlan Galvin this morning because Team Lists Tuesday. Plenty of news jumping up there, and we will go through that later on in the hour, team by team. But I was keen to see from a Melbourne perspective that Jerome Hughes is there. Hamole Olakawatu is there. So there are players who we're worried about who have made the team list Tuesday.
Matty, the big one is Mitch Moses returning for the game that will be taking place on Monday at CommBank Stadium up against the Tigers. Mitch Moses back for the Parramatta side. We'll go through those. And
Matty Burton.
Well, Matty Burton's back too for the big Good Friday clash against the Bunnies. Cody Walker returns for South Sydney. Lewis Dodds is there. Lewis Dodd picked on the bench. But we'll go through those. And we were talking about, not just Lachlan Galvin, who won't be involved for the Tigers against Parramatta. We were talking about Parramatta and just what Jason Rolls is dealing with. There's a lot of changes to that side for this week's game. We'll go through them in a little bit